PowerPoint Morph is an amazing presentation tool, but if you just stumble across it in the transition menu, it acts dull and useless. But if you know how to use it, the Morph tool can transform your presentation from static slides to animated wonders to focus your audience's attention on what they need to see. Hi, this is Les from Power Up Training, where I provide my decades of experience to you for free. As always, we're going to go deep into the new topic of Morph. After this in-depth tutorial, you will be a master of the shape-shifting of objects, text, and photos. So let's power up on Morph transitions. Let's start off looking at what might seem like a boring transition tool. This is a simple 4-slide presentation. All the slides have the Morph transition applied, and they behave so differently. Watch as we walk through these slides. For the first slide, pay attention to the top corner image as it is repeated on the next slide and will morph, transform into a larger image as we move to the next slide. However, slide 2 and 3 have nothing in common, so the morph transition does nothing but fade in a dull fashion. The last pair of slides only share a red highlight bar, but as we move to the last slide, the red bar will rotate and grow to the new location. So what the heck is going on with the Morph transition tool? Well, you need to trust me because this is really a cool and powerful tool. As you see in this slideshow that we're going to build in this tutorial is more than just photos. It's going to let you take complete control of your presentations and add cinematic effects. To take control and leverage its coolness, we're about to dive in and cover all the fundamental controls of this unique PowerPoint feature. Note that it will work with both Windows and the macOS, but only in the most recent versions of PowerPoint, especially PowerPoint 365. Turning on Morph is a simple click, but it is the construction of your individual slides that makes it shine. So that you understand all the paintbrushes in your toolbox, we're going to cover the specific controls for morphing of objects, including the ability to control the motion, the position, the size, the color, and the object orientation, both on and off the canvas. And then we'll see about morphing of text, which is similar, but there's some extra twists of changing fonts and emphasis, and even fancy word and letter swapping. And then I'm going to show you how to morph from one object to another shape. Then we'll build the photo album presentation that you just saw. So let's dive in. I'm working on a Windows PC, but every single command will also work on the macOS version of Office 365. Let's start off with morphing of objects. Note that this is truly an empty presentation. So to morph an object, let's go find one inside of Office 365's gallery of images. I'm going to pull up the stickers and drop in a kitten playing with a mouse. Obviously, for a business presentation, you're going to use a whole different set of objects. The key to morphing is to understand that PowerPoint will attempt to interpolate the change of a known object from one slide to the next. Let me emphasize this. You create the start of the change on one slide and the end on the next slide. PowerPoint will then figure out what changes and morph the transition. So with our cat position, we'll add a duplicated slide, this time from the home menu. And then on the second slide, we're going to move the cat to the in position. I'll also make bold the word position so that we can keep track what changed on this slide. We're not done. We now need to stay on the second slide, bring up the transition tab menu on the ribbon menu so that we can apply the morph transition to the second slide. And once applied, PowerPoint gives us a preview of how the morph is going to work. Note that the transition of the first slide does not matter. Now, let's go take a look. I will start on the preceding slide, and in the slideshow ribbon menu, I will select from current slide as we do not want to start from the beginning just to see our two morphed slides. Here's the first slide, and with a click, Morph is going to transition it and move it to the new location. So let's repeat this for changing the size. I will this time right-click on the slide and choose duplicate slide. I will then select the new duplicated slide and this time move the image of the cat and make the cat larger. Morph can handle multiple changes of both size and position, and we'll see even more in a few moments. And for our tutorial, I'll note with bold that this slide was demonstrating a size change. Note that we did duplicate the slide, so if we take a look at transitions, Morph is already turned on. So let's go to the slideshow. But to save time, I'm not going to go to slideshow and choose from current, but instead look in the bottom right-hand corner and see a little screen that's going to start us from the current slide. We'll use this going forward. We're going to see two slides morphing. The first one's going to be the position. We go to the middle. The second click will now move it again, but also grow it in size. Now, we can duplicate the slide again, and this time working on the duplicated slide, we're going to change the position. And then with the cat selected, we're going to choose Picture Format menu and find the color action icon. And then we're going to recolor our cat to green. Now, let's quickly run through the cat series from the beginning one more time. At this point, you should understand that the PowerPoint Morph is interpolating the changes in an object from slide to slide to slide and making the necessary adjustments in as smooth of a morph transition as it can. Duplicating the image again, I'm going to show you the final object manipulation, which is the change in a rotation command. It's where you select the object, look for the rotation cursor grab circle to click and rotate, and here we're actually going to reposition it. And then we can review our work once again inside the slideshow presentation mode from the beginning of our cat series with all the changes that we've seen. You can combine these in any order or fashion and just recognize that it's the change from slide to slide to slide, including our rotation. All of our animation up to this point has been on canvas, meaning everything is happening inside the edges of our slide. But there's some extremely effective effects when bringing morphed items from offstage. Let's create a new example with a buzzing bee sticker. I'm going to insert the bee, resize the bee, but before we position the graphics, we need to shrink our canvas view by going to the bottom right corner of PowerPoint. Here are the controls for enlarging, or in our case, shrinking the view of the canvas. We are not changing the slide actual size, but just our zoom view of the workspace. Now we can drag our bee off the viewable canvas to create a motion-based entrance on the following slide. With that, we're going to go ahead and duplicate the slide, and it brings the offstage bee along with the duplication. Then we can drag the bee to the center of the slide, telling the morph command where we want the bee to land when displaying this next slide. So next, we'll add the morph transition to the slide, and then to complete our effect of the bee flying off the page, we'll create a third slide by way of duplication, which will include the centered bee plus the morph transition. Then we're going to move the bee almost, but not quite off the canvas, and we're ready to see the 3-slide bee project in action. Slide 1, bee is off stage. Slide 2, the bee flies in from the bottom left. And slide 3, the bee exits stage. However, I suspect your presentations will not be filled with cute kitten icons or flying bees. So here's a quick example of all the same concepts, but with a graph on a slide page. So on a new canvas, I'm going to add a title. I'm going to position it, and then go to the Insert menu to select a chart. Once on the page, I'm going to close the data sheet, resize the chart, and then being very careful to select the edge of the graph, not any inside elements, so that I can drag the object off stage, much like we did with our bee sticker. Now, we're going to go ahead and duplicate the slide with the graph off stage. On the duplicated slide, I want to add some drama to the text. So I'm going to reposition it. I'm going to change the size of the text and add some new text color. Next, we'll move the chart back onto the page and resize it and reposition it. And finally, we'll go to the transition menu and turn on the morph effect. Note the morphing changing text plus the graph entrance with the auto preview. But let's see it on the big screen in slideshow mode. Watch the text latest sales numbers morph as we change the next slide in addition to the chart entrance. And that example previews the next section, text morphing. We can do all the same tricks as we did with objects when applying them to text, but there is more. First, let me do a speed formatting of the various techniques we applied to objects, and you'll see the preview with each change. But I'm going to slow down with the first new variation, which is the changing of the look of the typography font. Here, I'm creating a new morph slide, and I'm going to go from the sans serif Calibri font to the fancier serif font of Times New Roman. And we'll see a very subtle change during the morph preview. Now, back to speed. We're going to rotate, plus do some resizing to fit our text on the page, and finally, we're ready to see all of the changes in the slideshow. As we watch the changes across the slideshow, I do want to point out that much of this can be done with the PowerPoint Animated Motion Path tool. See the link above for our extended YouTube tutorial. But I do find that the Morph tool is much easier to control with some great effects. Lastly, it should come as no surprise that we can move the text off stage as we did objects. Watch how I not only bring the text down below at an angle and out of the frame, but also make the text much larger to give us a cooler exit effect. This slideshow text twist and grow is nice, but maybe just a little too quick. So let's modify the morph transition effect with one of the few controls, and that's change the duration of how long it takes to morph the transpire. We're going to change the duration from 2 seconds to 4 seconds, doubling the transition. And in my view, it makes the move more cinematic. So text and morph transitions work great together. But PowerPoint gives us 2 more slick controls with these paired together. Let's do some wordplay. The first of the 2 techniques is what I call word swapping, and it's best to see in action. So I'm going to duplicate this slide, and then on the second slide, change the color of the words word and morph, and then we'll do some cut and paste. I'm going to swap their position on the second slide. We must not forget to add the morph effect from the transition menu, and then we can check it out in the slideshow. Here we go with slide 1 and slide 2, and it just changes. It's kind of underwhelming. But wait, if we go back to the second slide and go to the morph in transaction, there is a drop-down box for effect options. And there we can change the morph from object to word, and this will make PowerPoint more aware of the actual words on the page and how they change from slide to slide. And in the slideshow, this looks cool. This can also create a slick effect if we're just changing some of the words, such as adding a second slide, and we'll change quarter 1 to quarter 2, and quarter 2 results are going to go down to 19%. I'm going to add some color to the second slide for emphasis. Note that during the slideshow, how the word starting with quarter sales literally moves to the right as opposed to just fading in. The second special text morph effect is a variation of word swap. It's down to the character swap, where we're moving individual letters, not whole words. For our example, I am duplicating the slide that holds the words cheater and teacher. They are anagrams of each other, meaning that they have the same letters, but they're just rearranged inside the words. In our project example, we have cheater on the first slide, and then on the second morph slide, we have the word teacher. I'm going to go into the effect option for morph and change it to characters. And as I run the slideshow, we see the letters literally rearranging themselves in front of us as we go from slide 1 to slide 2. And I will repeat this for the phrases, sweep the floor, and too few helpers, which is another pair of anagrams. But you're going to see that if you have too many characters moving around, it does lose some of its coolness, as I believe it becomes too busy in the slideshow. Now, this is a classic slide transformation of the alphabet, morphing to a word or a couple of words. The reason I'm showing this is to point out that morphing from slide to slide is capitalization specific. The first example works as the letters are all caps, but our second try, I'm going to make the word simple example have only the first letter capitalized on the word simple and example. And when we do the slideshow, you're going to see that only the capital S and the capital E morph. Morphing does a pretty good job of moving shapes and text and even transforming sizes. But what about morphing to a different shape? Yes, it can. Let's try it. I'll do it unsuccessfully first, and then we'll do it successfully. I'm going to drop a triangle shape and then go back and add a circle into our empty slide. We're going to go ahead and color them so that we can see them shift in shape and color morph. As always, we'll duplicate the slide, and then I'll take the circle off the first slide and the triangle off the second target morph slide. And now we can test it out in a slideshow. Well, this is a disappointment. The triangle fades out and the circle fades in. No movement and no shapes shifting. But why? Well, we've not told PowerPoint that these objects are linked and that we want them to morph. Each object has a unique name per slide, and PowerPoint will morph the matching object names between slides. That's why we have been duplicating each slide so that the duplicated slide has the same name objects. But our triangle and circle are named differently with unique names, so we need to fix that. To reveal the object names, you need to select an object and then go to the context menu of Shape Format, and then find the action icon called Selection Pane. For more on selection panes, see our YouTube tutorial listed above. Once the selection pane is turned on, all the shape objects are listed in the right-hand pane. In our case, we have 3 objects, and our triangle is called Isosceles Triangle 4, while the second slide, the circle is named Oval 5. In a busy slide, you'll need to click the object to have it highlighted so you'll know what to rename. I will double-click on the name to edit it, and here's the key. Not only do the 2 objects on the different slides have to have the exact same name, but the name must start with 2 exclamation marks. In our project, I will call each of them exclamation, exclamation, new name with no space for both of these objects. Now PowerPoint will know to morph the newly named triangle into the newly renamed circle. Watch as they morph in color and shape between slides. Morphing basic shapes work fantastic, but if you have something a little more complex, the morph is not quite as smooth, although it will work. Look as I create a presentation with a cat and a dog and how they morph slightly together in the presentation. It kind of works. Now, for our last project, creating a very cool photo album effect. I'm going to start off by dropping in 4 separate photos on our canvas, and I'm going to speed through the setup. I'll shrink them all to a standardized 1.6 inch height thumbnail, and then I'm going to move them around to the far right of our canvas. I'm going to use various built-in PowerPoint alignment tools to make them all look centered to each other and equally distributed apart. But of course, we've got a YouTube video just on these types of tools. Next, I'm going to give all 4 photos a special look. So by selecting the picture format, I can then go in and find the oval picture frame to give it that album look. With our foundation slide built, we will duplicate that slide and turn the transition morph on for the second slide. Let's duplicate slide number 2 3 more times for the last 3 photos to be morphed. Now let's build out the 4 photo slides. On slide 2, I'm going to drag the top thumbnail photo to the center of the slide. I'm going to go ahead and resize it and change the picture format photo frame to display the full image. Here's a sneak preview of how it's going to work. Great. So let's zip through doing the same steps for the last 3 slides of dragging the next oval thumbnail to the center, resizing, changing the picture frame, and then repeating the process for the other 2 photos. And we are now ready to test out our last tutorial project in the slideshow mode. Watch the smooth transition of the photos changing shape, location, and the photo frame in and out as we move through the slides. This should serve as inspiration to use the Morph tool to create truly unique and stunning presentations. Now, you're the master of the Morph tool as you understand all the capabilities and tricks. Got questions or tips or requests for more free tutorials? Leave them in the YouTube comments below. And if you like it, do share it and give us a thumbs up on our YouTube video. Plus, subscribe to get more videos like this and our next tutorial on creative use of the Morph tool. If you want to see all of our videos, visit our free PowerPoint school at power-up.training. Until next time, go power up.